So that's going to give you the lowest loss possible on any frequency.
And loss is very important. I don't think people appreciate that.
This is Ham Radio. 10-4 this is from the
Hi, I'm Jim, N4BFR with Ham Radio Prep, and I am here with
Deborah Atkins from the Wireman Incorporated.
All right, hi Deborah, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
Good. So I have come over to talk to you because I'm working on a big project. I'm building a brand new ham shack and putting up a lot of new antennas because I moved to a new location.
Okay.
And one of the things that I want to do is because I got a big piece of land now, I'm putting antennas a little more remotely than they were in my old shack, which means longer runs of coax.
Okay.
What do I need to think about as I'm thinking about that kind of scenario?
Okay, when you're putting up a new installation and you're thinking about what you're wanting to do, planning is everything. And I tell guys that because there's so many different coaxes that you could purchase, but some are better than others when you're planning a permanent installation for a long time.
Yep.
So with that said, looking at your installation, if you're going to have rotors and that kind of thing on your installation, grounding is a thing you want to look at. A tower or no tower?
I will eventually have a tower, but I'm going to start off with, I've got an off-center fed dipole and an end-fed dipole,
Okay.
Or an end-fed antenna. Everybody gets upset when I say end-fed dipole. End-fed antenna.
All right.
Yep.
There's a lot of dipoles and end-fed antennas too out there, so there's a lot of planning there. But with your coax, I tell guys, if this is going to be a permanent installation, plan your coax based on what you want to do now and maybe what plans you might have for the future.
Okay.
So usually I suggest CQ1000, which is a 400 type cable.
Okay.
It does have a solid center conductor,
Okay.
but it is a direct variable cable. So you can directly bury it in the UV. It's 20 years. So that's going to give you the lowest loss possible on any frequency.
And loss is very important. I don't think people appreciate that. Everything you put in your line between your radio and your antenna is going to generate some kind of loss.
Correct.
And sometimes it's acceptable, right? You're gonna do a 2-meter antenna and you're gonna run it 20 feet, and so the loss isn't gonna be material because you're gonna be putting out 40 watts anyways and hitting a repeater 10 miles away.
Right.
So you don't need to think about it as much. But if you're trying to do a similar thing but work satellite or work EME, that you want to maximize every single little piece.
Correct.
Minimize, I should say. You want to maximize your performance by minimizing your loss.
Correct. And when you're doing that, that's why I suggest the 400 type cable, because in a coax, that's the lowest loss that you can find or buy without going to hardline or those kind of cables.
Right. Then you're talking about broadcast type.
Right.
Stuff.
Right.
Okay.
But with this is going to give you the best signal, the best characteristics for any frequency. Okay. And you have the option to make your wife happy by directly burying it. I do get that question.
Yeah, no, that's good. Actually, what I was thinking in this particular scenario was I might, because it's a dipole, it's going to be about 40 feet up in the tree, I might actually do it aerial. So run it to a corner of the shed and then down into my connector. Right. Now, will that direct aerial work the same way?
It'll work the same way, yes.
Excellent. So I don't need to get a special cable to do it that way. Okay,
No.
good. So I've got two scenarios. I've got that dipole or that off-center fed dipole that I've been talking about. That'll be the first antenna I get connected up, and I'm probably it's about 80 feet from my feed point, so I'll probably get 100 feet of cable to give myself a little bit of flexibility and coil it on each end and do those kind of things. Does that make sense?
That does.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the other thing I have, and it's going to be kind of right outside the shack, so it'll be a 15 to 20 foot run, is I've got an M-squared 2-meter, 70 centimeter antenna for doing satellite. Now, I'd like to minimize the loss on that. So do I want to think about 400 there, or am I thinking about something different in that scenario?
No. The 400 will work fine for that also.
Okay.
That you don't need a different cable. That'll work fine. It's, like I said, that overall is going to be your best choice for outside in a coax to work any frequency.
Okay.
And our flexible version of the 400, just to give you an example, you said satellite. So the station that used to be in, might still be there, I can't remember, but the station that had all the satellites that constantly turned in Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, they used a lot of different cables back several years ago. So we gave them our 106 to try.
Okay.
And that's a flexible version because they were continually moving. And every cable he tried would break down after a year or so.
Right, because they're constantly doing that.
So our 106 was still lasting the last time I talked to him, which was, maybe it's been a while at that. But it was still working for him and they were happy with it. They came back from some damage. But those are things that you look at, your flexibility that you're going to be doing. You can always, if you're putting up a tower, usually you're going to do your ground at the base of your tower for that tower. So you're going to break it up anyway at that point. So at that point, when you go up, you want to use a stranded center conductor cable.
Okay.
Because that's going to give you flexibility and it's also going to give you longevity. It's going to last a lot longer than something like the CQ1000.
So
106 would be a better option for flexibility continually turning.
Right.
down the road.
So on installations that don't move,
Right.
harder center conductor is great for
Solid center conductor.
things that rotate. You want to have a flexible center conductor to make sure that you're not burning out your cable quickly by doing that. That makes a lot of sense. Then it probably explains the problem I had with my prior towers. Eventually, when I get back to a tower, I'll do that. But that's not the first priority right now. While I got you, let me just kind of pick your brain on some other stuff. When new hams come in and say, hey, I'm just getting set up, what are the things I need to think about? What would be one tip you'd give a new ham if they're setting up their first, let's say, HF installation?
Okay. I would tell them first to look at locations of where you're going to install your antenna. Whether you're going to be going through the trees, you're going to have it out in the open. Those things make a difference with what you're going to choose as far as your antenna wire. Because there's jacketed antenna wires, they're solid. We now have some solid copper-clad steel with a jacket that works well in the trees. But stranded usually is better if you're going to have it in the trees with a jacket because of the wind and those kind of things. So, but I tell them, look at your location and decide. Planning to me is everything when you're installing these. It gives you less work in the long run. So I tell them that. I tell them they're usually not ready for the CQ1000.
Right.
They're putting up simple antennas. They want them to be so they can maybe take them in, move them, that kind of thing.
Sure.
So I suggest 8X, our low loss 8X, stranded center conductor.
And I find that's good for like POTA activations too. It goes up and down easy. It's flexible, but so you're not putting a strain on it continuously.
Right.
Too.
But if they're ready to put coaxes in the ground and get something a little bit more, we go with the 1000 or 106. Those are always the issues. But planning what you're wanting to do, what frequencies, but just an HF antenna, dipoles are really well. They work really well. You can talk to people,
Lots of places. I used that dipole the other weekend and talked around the world. So
right. So there is a place for dipoles, and with the POTA and those, they have become more popular.
Right.
But most guys, getting into it, they want to learn.
Yeah.
So learning is a big thing, and I tell guys, hands-on is the only way you're going to do it.
I agree.
And I also say that what worked for your neighbor 20 miles down the road might not work for your location because you might have a lot more power lines around you or those kind of things.
Yeah, like I used to live here in Metro Atlanta, and I was in an urban setting, and that was a lot, on a third of an acre lot.
Right.
And if I drove 20 miles from there, I'm in farmland.
Right.
And right now that's where I live. I kind of live in farmland now.
Right.
So I've got much more room, much more space. I'm doing things differently, spreading out more, those kind of things. But if you are in a space, having your antennas on top of each other, if you have multiple antennas and
Right.
dealing with those kind of things, is another factor as well.
It is.
Yep.
It is. And those are things that you have to really plan for because they interact.
They do.
And that gives you a problem when you're in limited space.
How about things like what do you recommend for people at the radio end of the feed line? Chokes and those kind of things? Do you recommend those?
We do. Usually we say you want to do a 1-to-1 balun. If you're having issues, I mean, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. A balun is optional.
Okay.
But most of the time, when you're in a small space, you're probably going to need a choke of some kind.
Yep.
We've got multiple types of baluns that you can place in line at your radio.
And balance means balanced. Balun means balanced, unbalanced. So it's a way of getting the cables matching
Correct.
To what your radio is going to expect.
A balun does a dual purpose.
Mm-hmm.
It matches balance to unbalance, and it feeds out the RF that you've got coming back into your shack.
There you go.
And with all the electronics that we have now in our home, everything is electronic.
Yep.
So you have a lot of those issues. And sometimes a 1-to-1 balun in place can help that and eliminate some of that feedback, static noise, those kind of things.
Okay.
Grounding is another issue that I tell guys. You've got to have a ground of some kind because that can cause the static also without a ground. So grounds are things that you want to look at. We do have a wire book, 5 that I give to new hams.
Oh, right.
So I actually don't have one, but if I could just step over here and get it, I'll show you the one that I have right
yes,
here.
Please.
So,
Or I'll walk over here
Yep.
with you. How about that?
yeah, it's going to show all about it.
Okay.
But the wire book, this is a book that's filled with all kinds of information. It starts out from your shack. It goes all the way down to your grounding, how to choose the right coax antenna wire, putting up your antenna installation, how to put on a PL259.
Okay.
So anything you might want to need in here, and it's written in layman's terms.
That's terrific.
Covers how to use ladder line, which is another feed line.
Mm-hmm.
That
Especially you see that in like G5 RV style antennas.
right.
Yep.
So a very good book, and I usually give it to new hams when they come in. We have it in printing right now because I did a talk and we kind of sold out of them and get them out. So,
That's good. That's
yeah.
good.
So
All right. Well, terrific. I appreciate you giving me a few tips today. I'm going to go ahead and pick out my stuff for my new application. But where can people find you online?
online, we're at www.thewireman.com. And you can always call us or send me an email to info@thewireman.com.
And y'all are a staple at Hamfest around the Southeast at least.
Yeah.
I don't know how far you travel, but
Well,
I pretty much see you most of the places that I go.
Yeah, we traveled as far north to Dayton.
Okay.
We used to travel a lot farther, but we kind of cut back on some of that. So, but yeah, we travel the Southeast, but we're always available. If you're in our area, you want to stop by, give us a call. And, we'll allow you to stop by. We are in a warehouse type setting. But
Okay. And where is your area?
We're actually in Landrum, South Carolina, which is north of Greenville, Spartanburg.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
We've helped over 60,000 students get their US FCC amateur radio license, and we can help you too, no matter your age or educational background. Go to www.hamradioprep.com and try a free lesson today.